Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Tales of Herding Gods based on novel. So let's start. When ruling a country, one cannot be bothered with minor gains or losses, but have to see far, dozens or even hundreds of years into the future. When Grand Chancellor wants to earn money, it's just a few coins. When I want to earn money, it's about rivers and mountains, no blood on the men's swords, aiding the people, and unifying the economy. Minister of Revenue was completely won over. Your Majesty's words can be used to alert the later generations. In Border Dragon City, Qin Mu looked at the divine arts practitioners bustling in the streets and the merchants coming and going endlessly. Those people of Eternal Peace Empire made Border Dragon City much livelier than before. If Imperial Preceptor managed to bring the divine arts practitioners of West Earth to pave the road and open a path between West Earth and Eternal Peace, the people of Great Ruins wouldn't have to live so bitterly. Qin Mu calculated. Over a month had passed since Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor had led the people of Heavenly Works Hall to the west. Thus, they should have already turned the desert into green plains. By using Green Dragon Bead of West Earth, they could achieve that with quite some ease. After that, they would need to create streams by drawing water from the snow on the mountains into the desert for dense vegetation to stay alive and grow. If Heavenly Works Hall could bore a hole in the mountains to the south of the desert, they could draw the water vapor above the South Sea to the north. With that, the desert would have no shortage of water, and they wouldn't have to worry about making rain and snow fall. In just a few years, the flaming desert would become history. Once the road was paved, West Earth, Great Ruins, and Eternal Peace would be connected by a smooth road without any obstructions. Merchants would go past the towns and cities in Great Ruins on their way, and the people of Great Ruins would become rich as well. Divine Physician Qin, I heard you are a person from Great Ruins. Shingan, who stood behind him, broke into his thoughts. You are a person of Great Ruins, yet you bring the power of Eternal Peace Empire into it. You are a sinner. There is no country in Great Ruins, so how am I a sinner? Qin Mu was bewildered. The people of Great Ruins make the best use of local resources without any ruler. Even if Eternal Peace Empire came, the people from there would also become the people of Great Ruins. The guest will not become the owner here, for they must follow the rules of Great Ruins. Over here, they are the only way to live instead of any law of the Emperor. Shingan shook his head. I haven't interacted much with Emperor Yang Feng, but I can see his great skills and strategy. He will unify Great Ruins in the future. When that time comes, you will regret it. Qin Mu smiled. If the Emperor dares to make a move on Great Ruins, he won't be able to sit on his throne for much longer. You should know how terrifying Great Ruins is. These stone statues, he said while pointing at the temples in Border Dragon City. They are waiting for a call to revive. Once they do, the world is going to flip. Eternal Peace will never become the owner of this land, since it is someone else. His gaze flickered as he smiled. I chased away the Minister of Revenue, and the Emperor still hasn't found trouble for me, so I can see his plans clearly. It's just that his ideas are empty thoughts. If the Emperor could surpass Founding Emperor, they might have a chance of coming true, otherwise, they are nothing but an illusion. I'm about to go sweep the tombs, will senior brother Shingan be coming along? Shingan glanced at the chest that had grown legs, then looked away. I'll follow wherever you go. I'll leave only when I'll find the person I want. Qin Mu frowned. I'll go sweep the tomb after you settle your thing. Hall of Human Emperors was a secret that only the past human emperors knew about. With Shingan by his side, he couldn't head to Hall of Human Emperors, otherwise, its location would be exposed and bring unnecessary trouble. Besides, who knew if Shingan wouldn't dig out the bodies of the past human emperors to collect them? After a dozen days, the Imperial Court, Heavenly Saint Cult, Tao Sect, Great Thunderclap Monastery, and the rest collected the information of the people born at the specified time. There were up to 30,000 people. The official that had sent the information said, knowledge from the prairie, snow plains, and West Earth hasn't been gathered completely yet. Shingan looked at the 30,000 scrolls and couldn't help feeling a heavy weight settle on his shoulders. After a moment, he said, the person I want to find is a man, so separate the men from the women. The official immediately gave instructions to those under him, and once everything was sorted out, he said, "There is a total of 17,000 men, of which only 8,000 are alive. Most of them had died in the battles and disasters." After a moment, Shingan said, "Exclude those that aren't divine arts practitioners." The official gave his orders again and let the officials of Ministry of Revenue sort the information again. After a while, he reported, "There are 400 divine arts practitioners left." Shingan was silent for a moment before saying, "Check if there were any abnormal sights when these 400 people were born. I'm looking for a divine practitioner who wears a jade pendant." The official then ordered to check the 400 men. Qin Mu watched the proceedings with a doubt growing in his heart. Every time Shingan gives an order, he hesitates as though it's not him that's giving the order. It's like he is listening to someone else's words. That's right, he jumped off the bridge of helplessness and sunk into Yudu, which is much more dangerous than Funju. Monsters overflowing with grievances are everywhere there, so how did he get back? Could it be? His gaze flickered, and a gate of heaven influence suddenly appeared behind him. Once it formed, Qin Mu transformed into a snake-headed human, and a straight eye opened up at the heart of his brows. Shingan immediately noticed it and turned around to face him. His eyes were dense with divine light which blocked Qin Mu's gaze. He then said indifferently, "Divine Physician Qin, there are some things you are better off not knowing." Qin Mu laughed and dispersed his Saturn's sovereign form. Inside, he was ineffably shocked. When he looked at Shingan while the man was off guard, he had seen a terrifying eye hidden in the other's life and death divine treasure. Just then, that terrifying eye had noticed his gaze and was about to look at him. However, it was intercepted by Shingan. The official came to report at that moment. "We couldn't find any divine arts practitioner wearing a jade pendant when he was born. After all, being born with a jade in the mouth is a legend. That person wasn't born with a jade in the mouth." Shingan was silent for a moment before taking out a drawing. His jade pendant is used to suppress his devil nature. This is the picture of it. Since you can't find that divine arts practitioner that's born at the right time, and pictures of this jade pendant in every city and find its location. Divine Physician Qin, order your men to make 1,000 copies of this drawing. Qin Mu took the painting and his gaze fell on the picture of the jade pendant. Shingan saw that he was looking at it in detail and asked, "Has Divine Physician Qin seen this kind of pendant before?" Qin Mu shook his head. "I've never seen it before." Shingan's gaze flickered, and he took out a mirror. "I've forgotten to ask, but how old is Divine Physician Qin now?" "I'm 23 this year," Qin Mu said honestly. "I've wasted 23 years of my life and still have achieved nothing. I can't help sighing endlessly and shedding silent tears. Divine Physician Qin is 23 years old and has already achieved so much. It is already extraordinary." Shingan turned around and raised the mirror in his hand. In the meantime, he exclaimed in admiration sincerely, "Not only are you Heavenly Devil Cult Master who controls 1,000,000 divine arts practitioners at 23 years, but you also have other high positions like Heavenly Saint Academy Grand Chancellor and Human Emperor. You are the richest in the world and have a vast group of friends. How many people could have your kind of achievements at 23 years old? It's just you." He raised his mirror to catch a glimpse of the youth, but he couldn't see him at all. Stunned, he heard Qin Mu's voice coming from afar. Fatty dragon, tell the divine arts practitioners that just arrived to not run around at night. This is great ruins, they will die. Those with loud voices, come. Give a few shouts for the divine arts practitioners to not go out of the city at night." Shingan put away his mirror and went after him. When Qin Mu finally stopped for a moment, he took out the mirror to capture his reflection, yet there was no figure of Qin Mu in the mirror once more. The youth's voice came from far away again. "Yushio, can you find a few painters from the palace? Brother Shingan gave me a drawing of which I need to make 1,000 copies to send to all parts of the empire." Shingan's eyebrows rose as he thought to himself, if the person Lu Li wants to find is him, he wouldn't have examined that drawing of the jade pendant in such detail. Could I be too suspicious? However, why is he trying to avoid me? He caught up to Qin Mu once more as his gaze flickered. If he runs again, I'll suppress him in place with my magic power. At that moment, the well-rounded young woman of Ling family took a glance at the painting and said in astonishment, "This jade pendant, I seem to have seen it before." Shingan's attention was caught, and he stopped bothering with Qin Mu right away. He hurriedly asked, "Princess of Ling family, have you really seen this before?" Ling Yushio had been in charge of the military situation on the northern border, so her skin was very fair under the nourishment of the snow plains. She was going through puberty as well, so her face had become slightly longer, looking more delicate and pretty. However, her body was still well-rounded. When she returned to the capital for debriefing, Qin Mu had set up between life and death, so she took the chance to come to Border Dragon City. Other than to rendezvous with her lover, she also went there for training. I've seen it once before. Ling Yushio had undergone the training of the army, so she was much more mature than before. However, she still liked to dress as a man and looked very suave. I've seen it in one of the ruins in Great Ruins. Great Ruins. Shingan's heart trembled violently, and he asked in a hurry, was the person a youth? Not really. I just saw this kind of writings in the ruin. There was also a swaddle and a wooden horse there, so it looked like a child had lived there before. Qin Mu looked at Shingan, who went silent again. It was evident that he was communicating with the weird eye in his life and death divine treasure. He looked at the mirror in Shingan's hand with curiosity. Shingan had kept on trying to point it at him, which was why he had avoided it. Senior brother Shingan, you also like to carry mirrors? Could this mirror be some remarkable treasure? Qin Mu's gaze flickered, and he made a grab for the mirror. Can you lend it to me? I think I have a pimple on my face, so I want to take a look. Piak. Shingan slapped his hand away and stuffed the mirror into his Daotai sack while saying indifferently, "Don't touch my stuff. You are poisonous." Princess Ling, where's the place you had gone to before? Can you bring me there? He had communicated with the weird eye in his life and death divine treasure, so it was probably the weird eye that wanted him to go take a look. Ling Yushio hesitated for a moment before saying, I would still like to make a trip to Funju, so I don't have the time to bring you there. However, I remember the way there, so I can draw it for you. Shingan gave his thanks. Ling Yushio asked for brush and ink from Qin Mu and drew a geographical map. Shingan then asked calmly, is there any danger there? Ling Yushio smiled at him. If there was danger, how could I have lived to return? Who else could be the strongest in the world other than Senior Shingan? Shingan smiled back at her. If you could live to return, I naturally can too. Divine Physician Qin, come with me. Qin Mu hesitated. Senior brother, why do you need to bring me along if you're just going to Great Ruins to find a person? I've already helped you look for him, and I'm still going to help you hang his drawing throughout eternal peace. As long as there's news, I will inform you. You can find the tracks of the Jade Pendant while I go to Hall of Human Emperors to sweep their tombs. If I keep delaying it, all of the past human emperors are going to curse me to join them sooner. Shingan looked at the geographical map that Ling Yushio had drawn and said seriously, Princess Ling, if I don't find the word on the Jade Pendant there, you should know the consequences. Your Ling family will be wiped out from this world. Ling Yushio shuddered as she forced a smile. I didn't lie to you. Shingan turned to leave. Qin Mu and Ling Yushio let out sighs of relief. Ling Yushio wiped off the sweat on her forehead and was about to speak, but Qin Mu raised his hand. She then hurriedly closed her mouth. They knew what the other was thinking, and their primordial spirits left their bodies to move far away. After getting tens of thousands of miles away from Border Dragon City, Ling Yushio's primordial spirit asked, the one that herds cows, what is that place? Is it dangerous? The lives of my Ling family rest on this. The reason why she said that was because Qin Mu had taken the chance when Shingan was off guard to use the brainwaves of Heavenly Feather Clan to communicate with her, telling her what to draw. Between Heavenly Feather clansmen, words weren't needed. They all relied on brainwaves to communicate with each other. Without a sound, just by moving one's consciousness, they could tell the other party what they were thinking. They could move together as one, which made them very flexible. Even though there was a very huge flaw in communicating with consciousness, this kind of method was very useful for keeping secrets. Don't worry, all that you told Shingan, he will find there. However, he won't learn anything useful there, Qin Mu's primordial spirit said. After he goes there, if he immediately turns back, he'll still be able to walk out. But if he is insistent on going further to find more clues, it will depend on his wisdom if he'll be able to walk out or not. Back then when village chief and the rest barged in, they almost couldn't return. It was Grandpa Mute who had rescued them. After Shingan returns, he won't kill you because of this, since you didn't lie at all. The place to which Shingan was going was where they had once suspected to be Carefree Village. It was a huge ship that was forged by Heavenly Works God race, but they hadn't managed to reach Carefree Village. They had suffered an ambush from the enemy and got trapped in an incomparably gigantic cube along with the ship. Heavenly Works God race had spent countless generations and sacrificed countless people to finally let a child walk out of the seal. Qin Mu suspected that Mute was that child. After all, village chief and the rest had relied on Mute to lead them out. If Shingan stepped into that place and turned back immediately, he could still barge out. However, if he entered, he would be trapped by the seals. Ling Yushio let out a sigh of relief and asked, "Why is Shingan looking for you? That jade pendant is clearly yours." Qin Mu shook his head. "I also don't know. However, there's an extremely powerful being hiding in his life and death realm, and it is extremely terrifying. Shingan must have been threatened by it. I only saw the eye of that being and not the body. However, for Shingan to fall into Yudu and come back alive, that eye in his divine treasure must belong to a devil god of Yudu." Ling Yushio frowned. "If Shingan is able to escape..." Qin Mu shook his head. "It should be able to trap him for half a year. After he comes out, we will continue to help him find the Jade Pendant youth." His gaze became weird when he said in a low voice, "When he comes out, he will discover that no matter if it's Middle Earth or West Earth, the prairie, the snow plains, or great ruins, this Jade Pendant can be found everywhere. Try guessing why that is so." Ling Yushio rolled her eyes at him. "I know you are capable, stop bragging." Qin Mu laughed, and their primordial spirits returned to their corporeal bodies. The sky outside had already turned dark. Beside the river in between life and death, a pleasure boat was about to sail. Hu Linga and Sai Yunxiang let the people who had paid money to board it, and they went through the river in the sky toward Funju. Ling Yushio had also boarded that boat. Outside the city, Qin Mu walked into the darkness, followed by the dragon Qilin sitting on the chest, which was filled with items like fruits and sacrificial offerings. The chest was displeased about these things, but it was helpless since Qin Mu had forcefully stuffed all of them into its stomach. Hall of Human Emperors is the same as Little Jade Capital, another broken piece of founding Emperor Celestial Heavens. Qin Mu's gaze flickered as he walked through the darkness while holding a black lump in his hand. He thought to himself, "Second Ancestor and the rest didn't tell me where to go, just that I need to activate Human Emperor's seal. But how is it going to find Hall of Human Emperor?" His vital chi flooded into Human Emperor's seal, and it trembled gently. It was different from when he'd activated Human Emperor's seal the previous time. The last time he had executed the seal, he saw the years of hardship of the human race after eradication of founding Emperor era. The consciousness hidden in the Human Emperor's seal had struck out in all directions and spread through the world. However, village chief and a group of experts had helped him back then. Now there was only Qin Mu, so he naturally couldn't unleash the call of Human Emperor's seal with just his consciousness. Qin Mu used his vital chi to test it, and his heart suddenly shook. His vital chi had touched a marking in the Human Emperor's seal. The next instant, Human Emperor's seal gently trembled, and a ray of light shot out, hitting Qin Mu's eyes. The light then vanished. Qin Mu shook his head and opened his eyes to look. A light shone down from somewhere and landed directly under his legs. Astonished, Qin Mu turned back to look. "Fatty dragon, can you see the light?" The dragon Qilin was asleep, but he hurriedly raised his head to look around. "What light? Only I can see this light." Qin Mu hurriedly took out a mirror and pointed it at himself. He saw that there was a strange rune in his eyes, and he reckoned that it was the reason he saw that light. So that's how you go to Hall of Human Emperors. Qin Mu followed the light. Meanwhile, village chief returned to Funju, which was currently very lively. There was a long river and a bridge in the sky above the city. The bridge was crowded with gods and devils while a bunch of skeletons stood on the pleasure boat underneath. What is happening? Village chief was astonished. He suddenly saw human Emperor Qi Kang on the bridge, and his eyes lit up. He waved and shouted to him, "Old man Qi Kang, over here. I'm back. I have astonishing news, something about the overlord body. You won't believe this. 40,000 years ago, there was actually an appearance of the overlord body. Come down quickly, I have a rubbing of the inscription here." Human Emperor Qi Kang jumped off the bridge and pointed at village chief. Don't move, don't move. I'll call second ancestor and the rest over." Village chief smiled at him. Aren't you going to take a look at the inscription first? Enjoying happiness alone is not as great as sharing it. Let's wait for the other human emperors to come before we read it together. Human Emperor Qi Kang looked at him with sincerity in his eyes. Village chief was puzzled. This old fart smile seems to be a little familiar. Why is he so polite to me today? What are those human emperors doing again? Why is it so bustling? In Funju City, King Yama stood in front of Hall of King Qin and looked into the city. He could see palaces collapsing one after another, and asked suspiciously, "Are the disciples beating the masters again?" The beatings looked quite ruthless. A huge bird flew over and landed on the ground to transform into bird-headed god Shio. He pruned his feathers and shook his head. King Yama has guessed wrong. It's not disciples beating up the masters, but the masters ganging up with the ancestors to beat the last disciple. Human Emperor Su has come back and got beaten up by his master, Grand Master, and all the ancestors. He is getting beaten quite miserably, but he can't die even if he wanted. King Yama was quite astonished. They have changed the rules. I also don't know, but it seems to be about the overlord body. Human Emperor Su brought an inscription and said that it's the legend of the overlord body from 40,000 years ago. Second ancestor and the rest had smiled while listening, but after that, they surrounded him and started beating him up. God Shio paused for a moment. After that, when human Emperor Su resisted, he got beaten up even more miserably. They talked about how he deceived the masters and ancestors, how he schemed them and allowed the little human emperor to beat them. I only heard bits and pieces, but human Emperor Su is getting beaten quite badly. The other gods and devils don't dare to go forward to break up the fight. The cult masters of Heavenly Saint Cult are even cheering on the fight and wishing for the whole world to be in chaos. Should I stop them? King Yama was silent for a moment. No need for that. If you go and stop them, they will gang up on you. Deep in the night, it was still extremely lively in the darkness of great ruins. Countless monsters appeared while Shingan hurried past them. The divine light around his body forced back the invasion of the dark substances as he headed toward the location Ling Yushio had marked. His mind trembled when he saw a huge sealed space. Pieces of forest were located up, down, left, and right of the gigantic cube, covering its every side. Meanwhile, in the sealed space, there was a humongous ship that was countless times larger than Sun ship and Moon ship. It was the huge ship forged by Heavenly Works god race of founding Emperor Celestial Heavens to head toward Carefree Village, Parameter Arc. This ship was tattered, which made it evident that a bloody battle had happened on it. That was the reason why the ship was destroyed and could no longer advance. Shingan could see the danger, and he hesitated slightly. In the end though, he still stepped inside. He was the strongest existence in the current world, so even though he had seen the danger, he was confident that he could leave it easily. Not long later, he came to the little village in the forest, and Shingan's mind trembled. He indeed saw the pictures that were similar to the jade pendant. The little princess of Ling family didn't lie to me. At that moment, he discovered that he was not the only one there. The door of a courtyard was open, and he saw someone's back there. This is the person I'm looking for. Shingan couldn't help growing excited. He took out his mirror and turned around to point it at that person. The man turned around, revealing his face full of wrinkles. He smiled at him. Ah. Shingan was slightly stunned. It was an elder and not the person he was looking for. The elder was carrying a chest and had an iron forging furnace nearby. You are very strong. Shingan turned to face him with a calm expression. You have made me feel the delight in seeing a prey after noticing the boundless energy in your body. It's extremely terrifying. You might be the most terrifying opponent I've met in recent years. Ah. The elder's face wrinkled like the skin of a tangerine. He smiled happily and signaled twice. Shingan didn't understand and talked by himself. I want to collect you very much. Show me your strongest moves and let me see your abilities. Boom! The furnace beside the elder blazed, and flames rushed over 10 miles into the sky. Shingan instantly felt the space burning, but the most terrifying thing wasn't that furnace. The threat came from the body of the elder. His dantian suddenly burst forth with dazzling light, like a small sun exploding with incomparable energy. Shingan was excited when he saw a divine bridge behind the elder stretching into the sky. On it was his primordial spirit that had a bird's head and a human's body while extreme heat energy radiated off it. The primordial spirit leaped up and crossed the bridge, entering the celestial heavens above it. Boom! The magic power of the elder exploded violently once again, and the blazing heat could warp the space. Suddenly, the chest opened by itself, and countless silver pellets flew out like flowing water. They covered the elder's body and instantly turned him into a general clad in silver armor. 2 silver lights became 2 huge hammers which smashed toward Shingan. When the hammer hit him, Shingan felt like an obstinate iron on an iron felt. He was being forged into a form that the elder wanted. How strong! Your dantian is even stronger than the God Realm's dantians I collected from the other strong practitioners. Shingan was ineffably excited. He raised his hand and ripples swirled. An apparition of a vast sea appeared behind his body, and sounds of waves rushed into the sky. He took the strike head-on and was blown out of the little village. The elder rushed after him, his huge hammers rising and falling as they attacked. The 2 people fought among the mountains and forests, moving and attacking non-stop. Shingan laughed loudly. Superb body, superb dantian. I will definitely add you to my collection. Yin alone or yang alone cannot result in longevity. The path you took is the path of pure yang, which is fierce and overbearing, but that has difficulty in lasting long. Your strength to taking too big of a toll on your corporeal body, which resulted in you looking so old. Unless you refine your corporeal body to the God Realm, you won't be able to endure the divine might of the Dantian Great Furnace. If you continue fighting like this, you will definitely exceed the limits of your body. You are bound to lose. At that moment, the elder was already finding it hard to continue anymore. He suddenly pulled back his hammers, and the silver armor flowed down to his legs to become a silver horse, which he then rode away. Shingan hurriedly gave chase, but his feet suddenly stepped into emptiness. They had come to the space of parameter arc, and everywhere were shattered pieces of the arc which were incomparably huge. Shingan saw the speed of the silver horse under the elder's hip slowing down and understood just how strong was the dantian of the person before him. It had already harmed the man's body, however, so he couldn't endure any longer. Shingan gave chase once more. After a moment, cold sweat rolled off his forehead. He had lost all track of the elder and found himself trapped in a dangerous place. Seals were everywhere, and it made it hard for him to tread around. Suddenly, the elder appeared again, sitting at the bow of a small, silver boat. From somewhere, he had even gotten a bamboo hat. Shingan composed himself as the corner of his eye twitched. He wanted to rush over, but he was blocked by a seal that was floating in space. The elder grinned at him, revealing his lack of tongue. He did a cutting gesture over his neck, and his small, silver boat sailed away. Shingan flew into a fury, but he suddenly felt that the elder's smile was slightly familiar. He seemed to have seen it somewhere before. This smile, I've definitely seen it before, definitely. He calmed himself down and threw the smile of that elder to the back of his head. He focused on finding the path out, but just as he was about to solve the first talisman seal, Qin Mu's smile suddenly flashed across his mind and overlapped with the smile of the mute elder. He grew flustered and was then struck away by the talisman seal. Qin Mu's smiles and the mute elder's smile overlapped nearly perfectly. The only difference was that Qin Mu's smile was sincere while that mute elder's smile had a hint of craftiness. Shingan's god blood rose up to his throat, but was forced back down by him. I won't be angry, I won't be angry. I will definitely not let him spoil my Dao heart. You arg. He still couldn't resist puking out a mouthful of god blood. With the expression of defeat, he let out an angry roar. Divine Physician Qin, I will never let you off. Qin Mu followed the light that was guiding the way and walked out of Great Ruins. As he continued on his journey, he walked to the southern borders of eternal peace. There were numerous bugs and snakes there, and people were scarce. The further he walked, the more desolate it became. Finally, slightly after dawn, the guiding light formed a door that wasn't very big before him on one of the mountaintops. There were no other doors formed by light on the small mountaintop. Qin Mu looked around and saw barren mountains and wild lands. There were no people here, only empty terrain. The dragon Qilin raised his head to examine the surroundings. When he saw the sun coming up, he couldn't help cheering up. Cult Master, it's daybreak, time for breakfast. Qin Mu pushed open the door, and it opened with light shining out from inside. He walked into that light. The dragon Qilin hurried in after him. Their figures vanished, and the door of light became dimmer and dimmer before vanishing. After a moment, Qin Mu appeared on a desolate land. The emptiness earlier was nothing compared to what he saw now. In front of him were collapsed sacred halls with fog covering everything. Hidden by it were slabs of tombstones with burial mounds behind them. The broken fences and dilapidated walls struck deep into Qin Mu's heart. In the distance, there was a palace standing tall alone in the fog. Qin Mu went forward while looking around. The space was extremely vast, but the countless tombstones in the fog were the only scenery of Hall of Human Emperors. He came to the first burial mound and looked at the tombstone. On it was written, Celestial Heavens West General Wei Ming. Beside the tombstone was a shield dyed with blood. Qin Mu came to the second burial mound with words, Celestial Heavens Brave Tiger Guards High Official Ding Yunhe. Under the tombstone was a helmet. He continued to walk forward in complete silence. Even the dragon Qilin who was clamoring for breakfast didn't dare to speak. He shrunk his tail back and suddenly lifted the chest hide inside it. He didn't dare to show his face. Qin Mu checked tombstone by tombstone, but many of them weren't even carved. The person that had erected the tombstones had probably not known their names. Both named and unnamed tombs paved a way that led to Hall of Human Emperors which stood in the fog. It was hard to say how much later it was when Qin Mu finally came close to it. Before his eyes, a straw hut took form. Inside it, a dried-up skeleton sat with its skull hanging down. Beside him was a collapsed tombstone. Even though only the bones were left, Qin Mu could still see that the person had possessed a tall and sturdy physique. The knuckles on his hands were thick and big, so he should have been skilled in mudra skills, palm skills, and fist skills. Qin Mu dusted off the dirt on the stone tablet and couldn't help being stunned. The words on it were, Human Emperor Qi Kang. Seeing how I've achieved nothing in my life, I'm too ashamed to erect a tombstone for myself and I'm too ashamed to meet my ancestors. I shall die in this straw hut and not bury my bones. Qin Mu opened the chest and took out some candles, paper money, and offerings. He offered incense and sacrifices to Human Emperor Qi Kang with respect. He walked out of the straw hut and saw another one nearby. Inside it was a few severed arms and legs near a tombstone that had fallen over. On it was only the word Su written with a sword. It had been carved halfway before the broken sword was stabbed into the tombstone, leaving the character unfinished. Qin Mu looked at the severed arms and legs. At the severed parts, there were sword wounds, and the corners of his eyes trembled. He then paid his respects. Village Chief. He knew that village chief had come here once wanting to end his life, but since he had not passed down Human Emperor's seal, he couldn't do it. Because of that, he had only buried his severed arms and legs. He hadn't even dared to write his name as he hadn't left his inheritance behind at that time. Qin Mu came to the third straw hut where he saw a skeleton that was only 5 feet tall. It was human Emperor Yi Shan. On the tombstone, there were only a few simple words. Human Emperor Yi Shan, defeated by High Heaven. I've no face to bury myself and meet my teacher. The later generation doesn't need to pay their respects to me. Qin Mu came to the fourth straw hut where he found another skeleton. It held a flower basket in its hand. Human Emperor Lan Po. I've achieved nothing in my life, and I'm ashamed to have failed my teacher's teachings. Qin Mu entered each and every straw hut to pay his respects. He witnessed the 20,000 years of history of Hall of Human Emperors. He had met all the human emperors in Funju where they were scolding and beating their own masters, not getting along well. However, over here in the straw huts of Hall of Human Emperors, Qin Mu saw their respect for their teachers and the remorse of their own failures. He came to the far end of Hall of Human Emperors and saw the view of a back. This video will end here.